Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Om. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, good morning and namaste to everyone. Welcome to our talk, our January 29th talk, which is in the form of an open forum. There will be a reading and a brief discussion of what it is that we're going to be dealing with in our open forum. And if you go to the website, you can download the open forum worksheet as a PDF.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second.
Thank you, dear.
It's actually, the link to it is in the chat.
Oh,
so
good.
You don't have to just click on chat in your Zoom menu bar and then just click on that link that you'll see.
Very good. So Cindy has made it even easier to download the worksheet by putting it on the chat link. So for those of you who wish to download it and follow along, it's not necessary, but it is auspicious. There are no real announcements this morning other than the fact that we continue to be closed for in-person activities. The chapel, of course, is open from 8 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. in the evening, every day of the week. So you're welcome to visit there. And everything else is on Zoom, including our evening arati, which is done Monday through Saturday at 7 p.m. So that's what we're doing, is we're working together, we're gathering on Zoom. Now, as far as what is said this morning goes, its definition and seeming affirmation of Jnana Yoga. It's not meant as personal instruction. It's not meant as something that you should do or should adopt or even should learn. Just take from this what is useful to you, if anything, and leave the rest aside. You should be, and of course will be, creating your own spiritual path. That's why you would take time to come and be with us like this on a Sunday morning, which is so joyous. So we gather together to study the art of spirituality together. That's a profound thing. I'll say more about it later, but it's very profound. So with that, are there any comments from your own wisdom or experience that you want to start us off with, or any concern or any question that you have? All right, and thank you, Cindy, for posting the worksheet on the chat, and I am going to read that now. Open Forum worksheet on Jnana Yoga, January 29th, 2023. January has been a month for the study of Jnana Yoga, Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta. As a Jnana yogi, you practice discrimination, reason, detachment, and satyagraha. Insistence on truth is an approximate translation. Satya, truth, graha, insistence. The goal is freedom from limitation, freedom from all limitation, moksha, or kaivalya, independence. Our teachers say that all miseries in life are caused by seeing inaccurately. An earnest and persistent jnani may break through this misapprehension, called in Sanskrit Maya or Shakti, and see only the divine presence everywhere, in everything, and in everyone. And when you attain that state of seeing the divine presence everywhere, in everything, and in everyone, you have become someone who has nothing, wants nothing, knows nothing, and does nothing. You have become the Nirguna Atman, or Brahman. You have become that, as the great Mahavakya says in the Upanishads, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, one with Brahman. Brahman does not act. Brahman does not know. Brahman does not exist. Brahman does not love. Brahman is existence itself, knowledge itself, and love or bliss itself. But it does not change. It is eternally changeless and infinite. Doing nothing, having nothing, knowing nothing, wanting nothing. And this is what we'll talk about as we go through. This is the state to be attained by the Jnana yogi. And that's why I said it is not something that is, it is not temperamentally suitable for most people, this way of being. It is a rare person who can become a true Jnana yogi or jnani. So I've been discussing what Jnana Yoga is, what Advaita Vedanta is. What do we mean by discrimination? Discrimination is looking out from this calm place that one attains to through contemplation and concentration and practice of meditation, called the witness. Looking out from that and saying, this deserves my attention, and this does not. This I will eliminate from my consideration, or I will, in the words of the jnani, of the Jnana yogi, I will ignore it. It isn't as if it goes away. Of course not. The creation of our own minds or the creation of the universe itself does not go away. But the jnani discriminates and says, this I will ignore. And in the language of the jnani, this is neti neti, not this, not that. So that's discrimination. Reason. Jnani reasons that because what is phenomenal, what is appearing before the witness, arises and passes away, it cannot be in the true sense that the jnani is seeking. It cannot be in the true sense real. So this is one of the ways in which a jnani reasons. This cannot be real because it simply arises and passes away. It is the nature of the manifest universe to be constantly changing. That which changes is inherently a lesser form of reality. As Vivekananda says, we do not move from error to truth. We move, if you will, from lower truth, the lower truth of manifest reality, to higher truth, the truth of the unmanifest or eternal, infinite, changeless reality. That's what the process is, in a sense, in all of the yogas, but it is very specifically what a jnani will reason about. What is it that I am witnessing? And is it, in any sense, the higher reality, or is it this lesser reality of constant change arising and passing away? Detachment. Having the word yoga means both union and detachment. Of course, they're opposite sides of the same coin. If you're in union with the higher, you are detached from the lower. But the universe, the manifest universe, is sticky, so to speak. It's sometimes hard for us to grasp what is finite and changing, and then having grasped it firmly, let it go. This is detachment. First, we have to grasp it firmly. We have to understand its nature and why it is not something that we want to hold on to. So then we practice detachment. And ultimately, the jnani detaches from everything in manifest universe. And in that state, there's only Brahman left, so to speak. And so that is the consciousness or the awareness of the jnani is merged into the consciousness of Brahman. As Adi Shankaracharya said, at that moment, my mind fell like a hailstone into the ocean of consciousness, which is another name for Brahman. My mind fell like a hailstone into the ocean of consciousness and therein dissolved. So there was no more mind, and so therefore no more vibrations in that mind stuff, because there was no mind stuff left to vibrate. And so Adi Shankaracharya was in that moment completely detached and free. Satyagraha, insistence on truth. We've been talking about various kinds of truth. One of the things that the jnani must do, it's true again of all of the yogas to one degree or another, but it is especially true for the jnani that she or he must take all of these things that have been discussed and insist on their truth, that there cannot be any room for argument, doubt, fear, anything. The chasm must be crossed, the chasm between manifest reality and infinite, eternal, changeless reality. And the only way that chasm can be crossed is on the narrow bridge of insistence on the truth of what is on the other side of the bridge. It's already known, but insistence, insistence, insistence. And it is according to Adi Shankaracharya and Vasishta, the other great teachers of Advaita Vedanta, of Jnana, that it is a moment-to-moment thing. It does not happen at this moment. In the beginning, it happens at this moment and in another moment. But at the end, satyagraha is a continuous activity. So freedom from limitation. We've talked enough about that. This is what it means to be free from limitation. There is no limitation that can be endured. So you reject all that limits you. You release it. You practice vairagya. Viveka is discrimination. Vairagya, the Sanskrit for release or letting go. So you've let it all go. And now you are in a state of jivan mukta, freedom while alive, still embodied but free, which is also known as moksha, or in the language of the yogi, kaivalya, independent of all conditions and limitations. Maya, of course, is all that we've been talking about that is in any way a limitation, in any way conditions our ability to see beyond it. Maya. Everything within time, space, and causation is by definition Maya. The divine presence, of course, is that which is beyond Maya. Now, it is said by Sri Ramakrishna and others that having achieved the state of jnana, you may then, remaining embodied, if you remain embodied, you may go beyond that to where you see Maya itself as a form of the divine presence. This is called by Sri Ramakrishna Vijnana, a special kind of knowledge. Now I'll read you just two quotes from people who have achieved this state of Jivan Mukta, or freedom while still embodied. The first is from Nisargadatta Maharaj, and it's a very encouraging, and if you bring it into contemplation, a very sweet thing that he says. And what he said was, having achieved this state, looking back, he said, everything yields to earnestness. Earnestness is another word for satyagraha, or mumukshutvam, the yearning to be free. Everything yields to earnestness. A very sweet way to put it. From Ramana Maharshi we hear, and this is just encouragement, why make the effort to be free? Why make the effort to be self-realized? Ramana Maharshi says, your own self-realization is the highest surface, is the highest service you can render the world. Your own self-realization is the highest service you can render the world. Now, having rendered that highest service by being this radiant being that is free of all limitation, your compassion leads you to offer all kinds of other service to the world. In Ramana Maharshi's case, even such a sweet and seemingly trivial, but if you again take it into contemplation, it was a very profound act. One of the animals that lived in his ashram was a cow with which he was in love. He loved the cow loved him. You can see it in pictures of the two of them together, how they're looking at one another. Well, he gave that cow liberation. Having attained liberation, you gain the power to offer that to others. And so he gave the cow liberation, which indicates how profoundly capable he was of that and what he was capable of doing for anyone who came to him. So that's what I have to say about the meaning and practice, the practices and principles of Jnana Yoga or Advaita Vedanta. Now I'd like any and all of you who feel so moved to offer your own perspective, your own wisdom and experience in pursuing spiritual life and what it is that all of this means to you within the Jnana Yoga framework or not. Because the Jnana Yoga framework, if we think about it, embraces all other paths. It is known as the highest path, and so must necessarily embrace all the others. So whatever you have to say will be valued, yea, treasured, because that's why we've gathered together this morning in such a good number to share this unity of desire and purpose. So what is it that you would like to offer from your own wisdom or experience, or what concern does any of this raise that you would like to raise as a concern, or what question might you want to have answered for clarification? Please, anyone.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, Bhagarat, so glad to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. The thoughts that you expressed basically are the words of a spiritual science. And spiritual science, like all other sciences, you have to have some knowledge to be able to follow it and understand it.
Yes.
So let me present a practical aspect of that one.
Please.
Practical aspect of that one is that if you know what is, that means Jnana Yoga, and do not combine it with Karma Yoga, that Jnana Yoga is either infertile or it is futile completely. But on the other hand, Jnana Yoga, when combined with Karma Yoga, that is where it yields the highest crop. For example, in Mahabharata, Duryodhana, and he's called Duryodhana, but he's also called Suyodhana. When he is a bright man, when he applies his things properly, he's called Suyodhana. When he abuses his knowledge, he's called Duryodhana. And mostly he abused it, and therefore the name Duryodhana became more popular than Suryodhana. But he says something in Mahabharata which I think is a universal truth. He says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrittim, janami dharmam nachame nivrutti. I know what is right. I know what is wrong. But I cannot practice what is right. And I cannot abstain from practicing what is wrong. This is the biggest limitation, and mostly it is self-imposed limitation. God has not given us. We have created for ourselves. That is the reason why, once again, you said about discrimination, but the best Sanskrit translation of discrimination is Viveka.
Viveka, yes.
Viveka, and that is why he was called Vivekananda. So that discrimination tells you exactly what is right and wrong. But to follow it in a proper way at a proper time, even when it is not pleasing to yourself, that is the art of Karma Yoga. And that's what I wanted to emphasize.
Well, you're absolutely right. If the jnani, if the practicing jnani has no compassion for other human beings and for that matter, all other living creatures of any kind, and their plight in this universe, the fact that they continue to abide in ignorance and speak as you say Duryodhana spoke from his wise self. He knew what was right and wrong, but he couldn't do it. This is true of most creatures, both human and other. And so they come to misadventure. And so if a jnani is without compassion and therefore without servicefulness to other human beings, it is, as you say, it is arid, it is dry, it is empty. And many, many jnanis are in this condition, which is why Sri Ramakrishna said, "Oh, please, Mother, do not make me a dry jnani, that is without this sweetness of compassion and understanding." So well observed, Bhagirath. Thank you so very much. That's why I applauded while you were speaking. It's just absolutely true. There must be, if you're going to make any progress, as Swami Prabhavananda said, no spiritual progress is possible beyond your interest in it until this heart center opens, until you have compassion for yourself, forgiveness for yourself. This is what happens when the heart center opens. You begin to understand exactly what Duryodhana said, and how profoundly true it is. So you have love for yourself, forgiveness for yourself, compassion for yourself. And so you can begin to offer that to others. And you offer it, as Sri Ramakrishna said, serve jiva, the living being. And by this, he did not mean just human beings. Jiva is all that breathes, all the creatures that breathe, and however they breathe. Serve jiva as Shiva. It is the highest that is become manifest as this, so to speak, lesser reality of time, space, and causation. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Shankara, you probably can't see it, but the woman from Arizona has her hand raised.
Well, please do. Michaela, is that you from Arizona?
Yeah, Michaela.
Yeah. Hi, Brother
please.
Shankara. I just have a question. So, if you see the divine presence everywhere and in everything and in everyone, how could you not become compassionate?
Precisely, dear. If you see that, and you see the suffering, the anguish, the sense of loneliness and separation in which most people live, then indeed, how can you not become compassionate and have that turn into action, not just thought and feeling, but action? Turn it into, as Bhagavad said, a form of karma yoga, service to others. Very well observed, Michaela.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Anything else, dear?
Good morning, brother.
No, hey, let's see
Oh,
if
sorry,
Michaela
sorry.
had a follow-up.
Yes, yes.
No, I'm good. That's what I was on what you were discussing, is that if seeing is the ultimate, and to see the divine presence in everyone and everything, I would think then that you would have to become compassionate. I just
Yes, but
couldn't see it any other way.
remarkably, many people posture as if they're called armchair gyanis.
Well,
They
Brother
like
Shankara,
they think about it and talk about it.
well, Brother Shankara, is that like how the Vivekananda, how he could feel like if there was an earthquake or something in another part of the world, he was so sensitive?
That's
Is that
exactly
why?
right. When Krakatoa happened, Krakatoa was that explosion of that island, volcanic explosion of that island, and I forget what part of the ocean it was. In any event, it was far from India. And he said to his brother monks, something terrible has happened. Something terrible has happened. And that's exactly it, dear. His sensitivity was so great that he could know that. And it was a long time, a day or two, before they received the news of what had actually happened. So yes, you're right, Michaela. That's why Vivekananda was able to be that way.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Gaurav.
Yes, brother. Morning. So this is again coming to Swami Vivekananda. He mentioned, I believe, during the Christmas celebrations and stuff, during one of those times, I believe, he said that everybody is a Christ in making. We just don't know it.
Yes. Well, this he said in his talk in Pasadena, offered in January of 1900 in Pasadena. Called the talk, which I highly recommend to any and every one of us. It's just an hour talk, a brief little book that you can buy here or find it, of course, in the complete works, called Christ the Messenger. And he said words that add up to what you just said. You paraphrased it, but what he said is that we are all destined to become a Christ. And he explains very carefully and very thoroughly why and what that means. And Swami Swahananda, my teacher, that's the one that sent me here, also said one afternoon, very pointedly and looking me square in the eye, he said, we are each called upon to be a Christ. What does that mean? We are each called upon to offer ourselves and all we have at the feet of the divine. And as Christ offered everything to what he called God the Father, and to humanity, he said, I am the Son of Man. So he lived his life as a complete sacrifice. Now, Vivekananda, of course, understands that we're not going to immediately become this. But he says, if you can bring a smile to one person's face during the day, that day has been a triumph. And he said, if you can offer a hand, do it. If you can offer anyone a hand, do it. If you can't, at the very least, stand out of their way. Don't in any way block their progress. So very well observed, Gaurav. That's exactly what he said. And I just invite you to read Christ the Messenger. It is a profound statement of why the avatar exists, why each of us is destined to become that highest form of expression of divinity.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Uma, I've been waiting to hear from you as well.
thank you. I wanted to expand slightly on what Bhagirath said
Please.
and add a few more thoughts. First of all, discrimination in English versus Sanskrit word viveka.
Yes.
And he explained that Vivekananda, master of viveka, master of discrimination, and who rejoices in discrimination, etc. But the same idea, further, if I want to break it up, it would be Nira, Kshira, Viveka. Nira is water. Kshira is milk. So how to differentiate between water, what is milk? That is so profound that most of the time we mistake one for the other and we mix it up. So how to differentiate what is real and what is fake? Not unreal, but fake, which is presenting as real. So that is what is Jnana Yoga. Another thing, I'm thinking of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, which is saying clearly who is a Jnana Yogi, one who sees the essence of things. Jnani tattva darshinaha. Tattva is sense. Darshan to see. So how to go to the crux of the matter? How to go deep into the truth of the matter? And as you said, how to differentiate untruth from truth and proceed from one layer of truth to the higher truth. So that is Tattvadarshi. Very few people can be that perceptive and penetrate through what is seeming and what is real. So that's wonderful statement in chapter 4.
Thank you. Thank you, Uma, very much. And that's and to answer the question, or the implied question, how can this be done?
Yes.
The only way, and it's mentioned in chapter 4 and throughout the Gita, is to practice contemplation, concentration, and meditation. Correct. Until one occupies that witness seat, which is the face of the Atman, the witness, the one who sees, perceives, and therefore validates our experiences. But that it goes beyond that to this ability to see, because it's seeing from a deeper kind of wisdom, the wisdom of the silence beneath the thoughts. This witness self can tell the difference between what is real and what
that's what I like.
What is calling fake.
And that's what I like. It's not knowledge like knowledge. Knowing it is wisdom. And that wisdom is very penetrating and life-changing if it is put into action. Now, he also tells how not to act, not with ego. I am the doer. Nirmama nirahankari, without ahankar. I am I-ness, and without possessiveness, that this is mine. I am the doer. This belongs to me only. So these are such variations of jnana. That
and as Bhagirath pointed out, are the elements, the practices and principles of karma yoga.
Yes. And it applies to every other yoga. But this is the basis, and the word yoga itself, as you said, it not only joins and combines, it aligns. So
Yes.
when each aspect
All of the yogas are contained within Jnana Yoga,
harmonize,
necessarily. But
self-harmonize.
it's very interesting that in the Gita itself, and Sri Ramakrishna says this, and this is why I say this path of Jnana Yoga, the pure Jnana, is it's a very rare person who can practice it in this age. And it's said in chapter 12 of the Gita that Arjuna asked the question, which is higher, devotion or
Yes.
jnani, or the Advaita? And Krishna says, it is devotion. And Sri Ramakrishna very emphatically endorses this position. He doesn't mention it specifically, but he says that for this time and this age, this declining end of the Kali Yuga, devotion is the very best path for almost everyone. The reason being, he says, is that we are so dependent on food. Now, this is a very profound statement, and by food, he doesn't mean just physical food going in at the mouth. He means all of sensory experience. We are so dependent on that. We are no longer the ethereal beings of the Golden Age or the Garden of Eden that were not dependent on food, did not have to wear clothing, and were very aware of their divine connection and divine presence before their fall from grace, where they embraced duality. So as long as we are embracing duality, particularly so firmly as we do, as we must, because of the very nature of our bodies and our minds, in this age, this time, this very particular time, Sri Ramakrishna says, devotion is the best path. But these are just teachings. As I said, none of this is meant as direction for you, as something that you must do, or any dogma of any kind. These are just invitations to consider what these great masters have said, as Uma pointed out, both Vivekananda and the Gita. That's pretty good authority. Then I've added Sri Ramakrishna. So these are things to consider. What is the best path and the best way forward for me out of this dark forest of the world? It is a dark forest, and the way is narrow and hard to find. So it takes the brilliant light of the great masters, the great avatars, shining through the trees of this dark forest to illuminate that path for us. Anything else from anyone? This is wonderful. This is
I'll go. Shankara, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, so just to check in, I've become fascinated by the sort of spiritual community that exists now all over the world of people connected with Zoom.
Yes.
And I can use, there's people coming in here from all over the country, and I can go to other groups in other cities and talk to other teachers and other spiritual practitioners, and it's just wonderful. Although if you spend too much time looking, you'll never settle down and communicate with any one person. So there's a couple of teachers, though, that I've met online that have had a big influence on me. who have really different points of view. And even those different points of view are real stimulating to me. Like, I don't feel so much confused as just like open. Like, this guy, this guy I really respect and he says this, and this other guy I really respect and he says that. So one of the big differences between my teachers, one has, an elaborate path of steps of meditation. You do this and then you do this, and this goes on for years, and at some time in the distant future you experience awakening. The other teacher says, well, I don't really believe in that, because I think you can wake up right now, and right now is the only time you ever will wake up. And so I find this interesting.
Well, you're so right, Tom. Is there more? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you can comment on that, and then I was going to go into my own practice.
Well, what you just said is so profoundly true. We can now reach out all over the world, literally all over the world, and participate in the ongoing spiritual conversations that are taking place all over the world in all the time zones at all times. Balakrishna joined us for a class the other day from India, and it was morning where he was. It was evening for us, and he joined us on Zoom. Add to this the fact that there are these huge libraries and archives of YouTubed talks, YouTube and other, Facebook, and Lord only knows what all is there. But all of these archives of recorded talks by the greatest of speakers and teachers. Swami Sarvapriyananda, Swami Sridharananda, Swami Sarvadevananda. Just name them of the Ramakrishna order alone. And then there's these fellows that you just talked about, Tom. And so this is just a notion from here. This is a foreshadowing of what is opening up for us as the golden age opens, because the dark age of Kali Yuga is ending, being replaced by, in our awareness and in our actual physical being, by the golden age. But of course it has external manifestations, and this is one of them. It isn't the technology that's so important, it's what it enables. Tom was mentioning that he can reach out. The fact that there are people here with us this morning that are from all over the place. And that's just a tiny, tiny sampling of what is available. So there's just, for the spiritual seeker, as Tom pointed out, and it just fits right in with this whole idea of discrimination. You have to discern what it is that's best for you, and limit yourself to that. Not limit yourself, but take advantage of what it is that's auspicious for you. So you said there was something more, Tom.
Okay, yeah. The other thing, okay, so Nisargadatta has had a big influence on me. I've been through that book, I Am That, several times. One of the things he says over and over again about his own awakening, he says, I trusted my guru, and he said, I had a family to support. So he couldn't just go off and meditate all day long, but he said, I trusted my guru, but I had a family to support, but I spent all of my free time in meditation, following his instructions. And I realized in 2 years.
Three.
Was it 3? Okay, I stand corrected. So, yeah, I thought, well, first, I'm not sure that I trust anybody that much. but why am I not doing this? So I started a sort of home retreat, where I was going to meditate all day long. I didn't do it. I didn't meditate all day long, but I meditated a lot more than I normally do, both at my house and at the center. Initially, I had some, deep calm, wonderful, like just soft, beautiful, sitting in a light and, just wonderful feelings. And I thought, why am I not doing this all the time? And then some painful and difficult states came up. And I followed the instructions in my tradition, or just pay attention to those. Don't try to push them away. Everything comes and goes, everything arises and passes. And I was successful in just sitting with the painful and difficult states and observing them, and even becoming kind of curious about them and letting them go. But then something more intense came. It was like a painful level of boredom, a very painful level of boredom, and a lot of doubt about the whole thing. I just thought, what am I doing with my life? Sitting here, sitting still all day and watching my mind. Why am I doing this? Why don't I go out and do something more creative or more productive or different? Just basically get off my butt and not stop wasting my time in meditation. And that got real intense. The whole thing got real intense. The painful boredom got real intense. And I stopped. I just couldn't do it. It was beyond my ability to endure, or so it seemed at the time. And then, so then I had a sense of failure. And then one of my teachers said, well, you didn't fail, you learned something. You learned something about your limitations and what's in the human mind. And it struck me, I guess everybody runs up against something like that, or everybody here would be meditating all day and getting realized.
Yes, they're called knots of the heart. KNOT,
Yeah.
knots of the heart. They are those deeply fundamental things that are what are they need to be untied by our spiritual practice, but it happens slowly and slowly, and as Sri Ramakrishna says, with the grace of the divine being in the form of mother. He speaks of it in that way. She is the one who actually, by her grace, unties these knots of the heart, these old ways of being doubtful and fearful. That's why they're called knots of the heart. They're keeping the heart from its natural state of happiness and freedom. And so, very well observed, Tom, all of it. And thank you, as always, for sharing yourself.
Brother?
You're so credible. Yes.
Brother Shankara?
Well, there was somebody else first. Who was the one that spoke up just before?
Neera.
Yes, Neera.
No. I was just getting the mute off for Vijay.
Okay, very good. Vijay.
Thank you all. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Today's session started very rich, very profound, with the summary dissertation given by you regarding Jnana Yoga and the good speakers. And I look within myself, and I'm speaking only for myself right now, because it's all up to each of us to see where we are at what stage we are at. It seems to me that I am Duryodhan, and how long I'll stay as Duryodhan, I don't know. In other words, that when I look within myself, more and more I find that I know the right, I know what is not right, and at the time of doing, I am not using the right discrimination so often. And the more sensitive I get looking within myself, the more tormented I feel also. And I'm speaking only for myself right now. And there is an adage in Urdu, the language in Islam, where it says, raise yourself up so high that even God himself may ask you, how may I serve you? And I say to myself, that stage that's being revealed in that adage, I can feel it, I can admire it, and I feel so distant from it for myself.
Well, all of us can feel compassion for you, Vijay, because we all are in that. It expresses itself and manifests itself for each of us differently, but we're all in that state to one degree or another. Otherwise, we would be free. So the word torment that you use, torment, yes, indeed, it is. It becomes what Swami Prabhupada calls in his introduction to Spiritual Heritage of India, his book Spiritual Heritage of India. He says it becomes an unbearable ache. There's the story of the guru and his disciple. And the guru is asked by the disciple, what will it take for me to attain God realization? And so the guru says, come with me. And they go to the edge of a lake. And the guru suddenly takes the disciple's head and pushes it under the water. And he holds it there for a long time. And finally he pulls the fellow's head up by his hair and says, now, what did you feel? And the fellow said, I was dying for a breath of air. I thought I was literally going to die for lack of a breath of air. And the guru said, when you have that feeling, when that feeling is what you feel for God, when you feel like you will just die if you don't realize God, then it will happen. Now, of course, this is a dramatic example and it's a metaphor. Once again, I'm not saying you must do this, you must feel this way. There's no mustness. There's no dharma, there's no dogma. But whatever it is that you are feeling, that is a yearning, that is this ache, nurture it, nurture it. This is the suggestion from here. That is the way, that is what is pointing you toward the way home. Thank you for sharing, Vijay, as always.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Brother Gaurav here again.
Yes, Gaurav.
So the thing is, if you actually, the Viveka is always speaking to you somewhere within. It's always that discrimination, power of discrimination, that is always trying to talk to you.
Yes.
And I think I've noticed the more you listen to it, the stronger it gets.
Yes.
And if you're not doing something right, or I don't know, you're involved in something you should not, it is yelling at you from within.
Yes, it is the Jnana Kosha. It is the buddhi. It is that sheath that is nearest to the source of your being. And so the radiance and the truth and the attributes of that aspect, of that manifest aspect of your being, as you say, are constantly radiating through the buddhi. And the more through our spiritual practice we learn to tune ourselves in to the Jnanamaya Kosha, that sheath within ourselves that is constantly, as you say, speaking to us. And if you feel as if it's shouting at you, that's very auspicious indeed, that it is saying, hey, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Don't ignore me. You've heard me. Now please don't ignore me. And its name is Viveka. It is the discriminating power, the ability to tell one thing from another, and the ability to tell right from wrong. Now, as Duryodhana said, as Vijay said, as has been said, that now, are we going to adhere to the habits and ways of being that we have brought to that moment when the Viveka speaks to us, when the Buddhi speaks to us, or are we going to heed what's said by it and change our behavior, change what we do toward a greater approximation of what is auspicious for us?
And
As
that is
Swami,
very hard to do at times. Means
Oh.
then you feel like you're risking everything, and
yes,
you're doing
exactly.
something good. But and then what I have noticed is just rely on Mother. Means I'm doing the right thing. Means
Yes,
I'm pursuing
we have
the
to
best.
trust. We have to
Yes, let go of it. Means whatever you're holding on,
trust.
the material realm, just okay, just jump in it. Means it's telling you go ahead. Means you're
And then
supposed to
if you
be.
do,
Yes, yeah.
then
It
you'll
gets
know.
stronger and stronger. Means this is
It gets
and
stronger, and you'll know you are making
and
spiritual progress.
and the mental resilience and the strength you get after that, it is means you're not worried about anything. You're not scared of anything. It is
Well, and it
um,
is, as you point out, Gaurav, it is only through experience that this happens.
yes.
So we can continue this as long as anyone wishes to. As long as anyone wishes to stay and continue, we can continue. I just want to point out it is afternoon, and if anyone has other priorities and needs to leave, may you be well and in bright spirits. But we are content, those of us, speaking for myself, and whoever else, to continue. Is there anyone else who wants to speak or be heard from?
Brother Shankara, I have a question
Yes.
to clarify about Viveka, about what is right and wrong for me. We have to decide individually, because what is right for me may be wrong for somebody else. So how do I know, is mine right and other person's is also right? We're both right at the same time, or I mean,
Of course you are, because we do not live, each of us lives in our own universe. Each of us is unique, a unique aspect of that infinite divine presence. So what is right for you and what is right for someone, as it's even pointed out in the Gita, that what is right for one person may be 100% wrong for the other. And it is auspicious for you to follow what is right for you, your dharma, rather than, and do it even imperfectly, rather than try and follow the dharma of another, even though you may be able to do it more perfectly. So it is this discernment, this viveka. This is what I said. The only way that is taught to us, it is taught to us that the only way to access this greater wisdom, it's, as Uma pointed out, it's not knowledge with a lower case K. It is wisdom with an uppercase W. The only way to do that is through spiritual practices. Spiritual practices being prayer, contemplation, concentration, and meditation. And the only way to succeed at being able to hear that deeper voice, which Meister Eckhart calls the voice of silence, the voice that is within us, is below the level of the thoughts, is to do our practices daily. Unless we do our practices daily, the world and our universe, which is called Mahamaya, will overwhelm us and mislead us. As somebody pointed out, I think it was Uma, it is fake. It is a magic show. It is a stage play. It's not a reality in the deepest sense. It is a magician's reality. As Swami Prabhupada used to say so charmingly, everyone loves the magic, but no one wants to know the magician. So let us want to know the magician that lives within each one of us. There is, after all, one consciousness, one consciousness. It expresses itself as each one of us. It manifests itself. Why? As Swami Sarvapriyananda said, because it can. There is no other answer. We are each an individual being manifesting this reality. Somehow or another, in some way, we have chosen duality rather than Advaita, non-duality. And so now we're seemingly imprisoned in this state of duality. Well, we can celebrate it, as Sri Ramakrishna says, you come to the mango grove, eat the mangoes. We can celebrate, okay, we've done this. Now, let me not be limited by it. Let me find my way out of here. And so then we begin to be more intentional and deliberate. Exactly.
Brother Shankara,
Yes.
a thought on the right and wrong. The same thing can be right or good or not so good, depending on who it is being addressed to, under what circumstances. For example, if it rains heavily and the farmer wants the rain for the crop, the farmer says, oh, how nice, it's raining, so good. And someone who has to go to work, does not have an umbrella, cannot get out of the house and says, oh my God, it's raining so heavily, how am I going to go to work? It's the same rain in two situations.
Precisely. That's exactly why when this session started, it was said, this is not for everyone. If it's a too heavy a rain for you, then don't go out in it. If it sounds suitable for you and seems to water your crop, then imbibe it. But there is no. How can there possibly be in an infinitely expressing universe this cookie cutter dogmatic way of seeing and doing things? It's not possible.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you.
A short question, please.
Yes.
As you mentioned that Swami Vivekananda ji said, we go from lower truth to higher truth. Does that mean that we do not recognize the existence of wrong?
Well, of course we recognize the existence of wrong. How can we not recognize it? Not recognize it. We see that it happens, and we see that and we see its effects, and we create laws and regulations in order to regulate people's behavior so that they do not encroach on one another, and so yes, the recognition of wrong must be there, but we understand that that is the lower reality. That there is a higher reality that transcends right and wrong, simply because, as Sri Ramakrishna says, in that state of the pure or ripe ego, the dancer who has purified herself to the point of no longer listening to the music and dancing to it, but simply allows the music to move her. She is so skilled and so pure that she cannot put a foot wrong. So there's no question of right or wrong. It's just simply spontaneous. But then he uses another metaphor to say about this same person, they also may be a very skilled singer. But he says that even the most skilled singer cannot keep her voice always on the highest note. So we come back to this world of duality with its right and wrong. So, of course, there's a recognition of wrong in that state. When we're in our highest state of the witness does not see that at all. The witness is not, the witness is seeing only the pure and the auspicious. It's not gazing on the duality, it's gazing into the wonder of its unity.
Brother Shankara,
Yes.
this is Fred.
Yeah, Fred.
When you use the word pure there, might that also mean impersonal?
Well, of course, the more pure you become, the less personal it becomes. And for some people, the opposite is also true. It becomes intensely personal, but in the most divine sense, because it is the divine person that they are manifesting. This was true of Raja Maharaj, for example. Swami Brahmananda, Sri Ramakrishna's principal disciple for the work that was done in India. He was so very personal. Everything was personal to him. and so that translated into love and caring and deep affection for everything, whether it was a worm or a plant, or most, of course, particularly any living creature, breathing creature, human beings especially. So, but for those who are pursuing the path of jnana or advaita, it becomes, of course, impersonal. The personal is just part of duality. But this is why it's so clear that there is no right and wrong per se. What was right for Brahmananda was not right for Swami. No, another one of Sri Ramakrishna's direct disciples that was a jnani. In any event, yes, you're right. Impersonal, it can very much become.
Brother Shankara, I believe that.
Well, wait a minute. Is there anything more from Fred? Hang on. Let's always leave room for a follow-up.
Would you say deliberate might mean more and more freedom from the personal?
Yes. But as long as that does not become dry, as long as that does not become
Indifferent.
to the point where you don't care about what happens to others. This is why Sri Ramakrishna said, don't make me a dry jnani, one who doesn't care what happens to others. Now, first Vijay and then someone else, Uma maybe.
No, my point is answered already. Thank you so much.
Yes, but I was saying, like we say, a good balance between the head and the heart, or
There's no balance. No balance. Forget balance. The heart knows. The wisdom is in the heart. The head will confuse you every time. no balance.
Okay. So,
As Swami Vivekananda said, if it comes to an argument between the head and the heart, go with the heart.
yeah.
Don't
No, I mean, we
forget
were
about
talking about,
balancing. All this balancing act is just another way of hanging on to our old bad habits. That's all this so-called balancing is. Oh, I'll not go away from those things because I need to be balanced. Pardon me, rude word. It's just not so. The heart, the deeper wisdom.
when you were talking about
this
joy,
balance. Hmm?
I was thinking the compassion comes from the heart, you know.
Yes,
So that's what I was referring to, heart, not in other way, but having compassion for others. That would be
yes.
the heart. Yes. So if we're talking about purity, doesn't mean you become impersonal or be insensitive or not having compassion for others.
You can be impersonal and still be compassionate. It is not the way of the devotee. You are a devotee. I know you. You are a devotee. It's not the way of the devotee. But Fred Hughes, it is possible for Fred Hughes. But it is something that Fred is struggling with. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked the question and he wouldn't have told me about certain incidents that's happened in his life. You know, it is, we have to, if we're going to be compassionate, we don't have to, period. There's no have to. But if we're going to be compassionate, the way to engender this compassion is to understand that others are living in ignorance. And we too are living in ignorance. If we were not, we would be illumined. So it's just a different kind of ignorance. Ours may be a higher kind of ignorance. More avidya, more vidya, less avidya. But the person who is struggling and homeless and destitute is still worthy of our compassion rather than our judgment, because they are suffering from ignorance.
Brother,
Wait a
can I
minute.
add
I
something?
think there was
Okay.
Uma had something, I think.
Oh, I forgot what I wanted at that time.
All right. See if you
maybe-
remember. See if you remember.
Okay. Actually,
Whoever it was. Gaurav, was it you?
Yes, I'm Gaurav. Yes, brother. So I have like two things to say. One, again, coming back to Swami Vivekananda, I think Christ said this, or I don't know if it's Gautam Buddha who said it, that you got to embrace the world as your own child if you are a parent. And I think the personal is a different personal. The world becomes your personal at this
Yes.
level.
I don't know. I don't recognize the quote that you just said, so I don't know.
It's in his complete in his complete works, I believe, volume 3, where he says you got to embrace the world as if it's your own child. That's how you can relate.
So Vivekananda quotes either Christ or the Buddha.
Christ or Buddha, one of those.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is a wonderful quote. Yes, you must embrace the world as your child. But how can you do this? Only if
Yes,
you are
with your heart.
identifying with the divine person that creates
Exactly.
the world.
Exactly.
So you create
Exactly.
your own universe, but there's a universe beyond your projection
Exactly.
that is the creation of the divine being. So that's a lovely quote. I don't know who said it.
It's in the complete works. I can go back and look, actually.
Right,
One of those, he's talking,
Yeah,
I think volume
I
3
believe
or
you. I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah, I did go with it.
I don't need to know. I don't need to know chapter and verse. What else? You said there were two things.
The other that again, coming back to Swami Vivekananda, he said that judge no one because you don't even know yourself.
Precisely. It's just the corollary of what was said earlier.
Exactly.
If you don't know the depth of your own ignorance, how can
How
you
can I judge
possibly
anybody?
judge the depth of someone else's? And this is how to be compassionate toward them, and even in your being impersonal toward the world and even toward your smaller self. It doesn't mean that that other person doesn't exist in all of their pain and anguish of their ignorance, because ignorance is by definition pain and suffering. It causes our pain and suffering. It is this ignorance, seeing inaccurately, as the masters say, that cause all our miseries in life.
Yeah, we are all children of the very beautiful mother.
Well, that's
So,
one way of thinking about it that is very auspicious indeed. But not everyone can think that way. Not everyone will think that way. But it's very auspicious for you to think that way. And for that matter, it's something that I share. That we're children of the mother. She says so herself in the Chandi.
yeah.
All right. I got the hang of it.
Okay, good.
Okay. Moment ago, when you said you cannot go this way, that way, make up your mind and stick to what is better and what is good for not only you, but people around, and compassion. I totally agree. Having said that, the word balance in chapter 2, Sthita Prajna, that explains in my reading a very, what is the word, not balance, but the stand of equidistance, equipoise between two alternatives. And he says, Sukhe Dukhe Same Krutva, in pleasure or pain, in heat or cold. So in other words, when you are confronted in life with two totally contrary situations of pairs of opposites, that's what Annie Besant, that's how she translates, pairs of opposites.
Yes.
Then you use your discretion and select the one which is maintaining balance in that sense. That you
Yes,
are not
that's a different kind of
yeah,
balance.
different
That's
kind
a
of balance.
that's a centeredness.
Yes.
This is what the Sthita Prajna means.
Exactly.
Being able to remain centered,
Centered,
balanced in that way.
Established in yoga, he says.
Yes, established in yoga, which is union on the one hand and detachment on the other.
Exactly. And that's a very, very hard balance. And gradually it also says, Shanaihi, Shanaihi. Little by little, abhyasen kaunteya. By practice, whichever practice, meditation, japa, or even reflection, having good thoughts and trying, failing, and keep on going until you acquire that wisdom.
Yes.
Which makes you at peace.
As was quoted in that Rainier Maria Rilke poem that was read a week or two ago. We can't make this happen.
Yes.
You have to live the questions until slowly and slowly, somehow, the answer arises because of our practice, because of living the questions, which is spiritual practice. Very well said.
Shankara, it helps. I mean, even a drop of it, if you conscientiously do, it does make a difference.
Oh, yes. This is why Sri Krishna says at the end of chapter 2, speaking of karma yoga, he says, even a little practice of this yoga will save you, will save you from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death. The terrible wheel of rebirth and death is that we are compelled to return again and again to the world of time, space, and causation because we have not learned what we need to be free from it. And what Sri Krishna says is even a little practice.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he means a little daily practice
Yes.
of this.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have it be your entire life.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Uma.
Brother Shankara, so
Yes,
now
dear.
here, what I meant, the balance not between head and heart, the balance is the equanimity between pairs of opposite.
Very good, dear.
Bhagavad
That's
Gita.
perfect.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
my denunciation of this.
And I know the heart would be, of course, and I'm a devotee and following,
And the Swami that I was thinking of earlier was Turiyananda. Turiyananda, of course, was the embodiment of yoga, and he said to a devotee, they were walking on the streets of New York one day, Turiyananda and his disciple, and the disciple was reasoning away, using his head. And Turiyananda just suddenly stopped and turned to him and he just said, "Stop it, stop all this reasoning, just stop it. Listen to yourself, listen to your..." Those weren't his exact words. It's a paraphrase, but that's what he said. Yada, yada, yada. Our mind will talk us, literally talk us to death. Quite literally talk us right into rebirth.
So, Brother Shankar, you said something about now that we are into golden ages. Is there an overlap between, I know we are in Kali Yuga, and is there an overlap when Kali Yuga is slowly fading away and golden age is coming? Or
What do I know, Nero? This is what Sri Ramakrishna said, Holy Mother said, and Swami Vivekananda and Swami Brahmananda, all those who were close to Sri Ramakrishna said that his birth, his advent, what signaled the final end of the Kali Yuga. It would soon end by how many thousands of years that means, who knows? But it is a fading away of the Kali Yuga, and at the same time, the dawn of the Golden Age. This is what they're told. So I'm only paraphrasing what as I said, Sri Ramakrishna himself said. Holy Mother also said, and Swami Vivekananda, Swami Brahmananda, and for that matter, other direct disciples of the Master, not of their own knowledge, but because they were repeating what the Master said. So, yes, both are happening at once, we're told. The Kali Yuga is dying away. There's a couple of indications from Vivekananda of how long it will take. He said, I've given them enough for 1,500 years. So that was a couple of hundred years ago he said that. But, our ideas of time, which are based on our lifespans, are just nonsense in terms of cosmic time.
it's all mothers is the
Yes.
makes change happen in the universe. It's all mother. Yes.
Yeah, precise.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Vijay.
if I may ask for some clarification from you.
Yes.
Joseph Campbell wrote a beautiful book, The Power of Myth.
Yes.
And as I reflect on that, it seems to me that the myth does help and does lead to bhakti yoga, a feeling of bhakti. But does it have place also in Jnana Yoga?
No. Mythology, all mythology is part of time, space, and causation. A jnani, a true jnani, is rejecting, is ignoring, is discriminating against all time, space, and causation. This is very clearly laid out in Swami Vivekananda's talk, The Real and the Apparent Man. Or maybe it's the talk before, in which he characterizes all of time, space, and causation as a kind of mythology. And so it has no part in a true jnani's consideration. All of it must be said to it, neti, not this, not that.
Mm.
And Jnana Yoga and the practices and principles of Jnana Yoga are seen and by the jnani as not mythology. They are not part of the mythology. They are beyond time, space, and causation.
That's true in Chandi also. Her mother states that she's the essence of all scriptures and Vedas. And
Yes.
yes, that's all devotion.
Thank you.
That's why jnana is not, as was pointed out earlier, it's not for all of us. You know, it's certainly not for all of us. Sri Ramakrishna said, "You come to the mango grove, eat the mangoes." You know, we should take this life as it comes to us. And he says, don't count the mango trees. Don't count the branches and the leaves on the mango trees. In other words, don't reason about all this. Just enjoy the mangoes. Eat the mangoes. Live the life. And he says, and in doing so, direct your attention toward God realization, toward knowledge of God. Then live your life having realized God, live your life as you please. And what did Christ say? Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. All wisdom, all righteousness, all things of the world. So if we're going to listen to these great masters and follow their direction, we will direct our attention first toward the realization of God. But speaking from this particular place, did I do that for many, many years? No, I did not. I lived the life of a householder, businessman. I knew all this. I had been given instruction by both Swami Prabhavananda and Swami Swahananda. Then I went on my merry way. I look back now and see that it was all the mother's will. I couldn't have done any of that by myself. What is myself to do anything at all? Certainly I was the muscles and the eyes and the fingers on the keyboards and all that. But in terms of creating that life and the great gifts that were given, completely above this paycheck. So it isn't like I'm standing on some pedestal and saying, you should be like I was. No. You should be like you are. Exactly as you are. Self-determined. And then when you look back, you will see, oh, I thought it was me doing it. Which is exactly the scenario described in Swami Ranganathananda's book, Divine Grace. This is why I'm so devoted to that book, because in a very real way, I lived what he teaches in that book. And I'm very grateful for it. And as I said, it was the divine grace all the time, which is what he says too. Anything else at all from anyone? Another recommended reading. Christ the Messenger and Divine Grace. Two small books full of divine wisdom, divine grace. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Bhagarat.
with reference to your earliest saying about Ramana Maharshi giving up his cow, it is interesting. Vasishtha also had a cow. His cow was named Kamadhenu. That means she will give you whatever you wish for.
Uh-huh.
And when Vishwamitra, his rival, Vasishtha's rival, and I think the myth of Vishwamitra and Vasishtha, whether it's a myth or history, doesn't matter, but they do give you very proper instruction that Vishwamitra, and a lot of Vishwamitra is in a lot of us, he wanted to steal the cow.
Uh-huh.
So he came at night time to steal the cow. But Vasishtha is always awake. So he got up and he says, if you want this cow, take it away. But let me tell you one thing. She will not be Kamdhenu for you because you do not know how to control your wishes. My wishes are granted by this cow because I know how to control my wishes. And I wish only those things which are good for everyone. So if for your own personal good, if you are stealing the cow, it is worthless anyway.
Yes.
That is the power of discrimination or viveka with which you started this morning.
Yes. Thank you, Bhagarat. Yes, if you try to steal the wish-fulfilling cow, you won't receive anything but the necessity to feed the cow.
Brother Shankara,
So, anything else from anyone? This is wonderful. As long as you'd like to stay, I'm with you. All right, dears. This has been absolutely splendid. This is exactly what an open forum is meant to do. Just open it up to all of our thoughts, our wisdom, our experiences, our concerns, our questions. And of course, beneath that is the unity of the one consciousness. Consciousness is primary and is not plural, taught Swami Yogeshananda. Our plurality is an illusion. It is part of this magic show, but it is a wonderful illusion. It allows us to be together this way and share and encourage and love one another in this way. This wouldn't be if it wasn't meant to be. This whole, as Swami Sarvapriyananda said, it's this way because it can be this way. So let us celebrate it. Certainly there is celebration from here of each and every one of you. Love and devotion to each and every one of you. And so we'll close with our traditional closing prayer, this wonderful prayer as translated by Swami Yogeshananda. Let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let that infinite, universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beings everywhere. And then this, as given to us by Swami Prabhupada, and I witnessed this. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May each of us be safe. May each of us be healthy. May each of us be cheerful. May each of us have peace of mind. May each of us know that we are in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Om Hari Om, Om Hari Om, Om Hari Om Tat Sat. So, with that, is there any final thought from anyone else?
Brother Shankara, I just want to add the prayer, my personal prayer, for God to give you good health, for our happiness. Thank you.
Okay, well, that is a wonderful prayer.
And brother, just one last thing that I tend to feel is, I think this being this or you can call, means I call her Divine Mother. She wants us to be somehow bound together
Oh,
in
yes.
her arms.
Oh, yes.
And
We are her children.
yeah, so she wants her children back or something.
May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. She wants us to be together, yes. And so we are. And so we are.
Yes.
All right, beloveds. Until next
Thank
time.
you, brother.
Of course, the next time will be Tuesday evening, or unless you come to Arati, Monday evening Arati at 7. But then Tuesday, Arati at 7, class at 7:30. Wednesday, the same. And then Thursday and Friday, just Arati. Saturday, there's the noon class. And then I don't remember what's planned for next weekend, or next Sunday. So look online and you'll see in the newsletter. So Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Until next time, dears, may you be well and in bright spirits.